Well, this is our Coachman Freelander, a little Class C. It doesn't have a slide either, not on this one. But this, you can see Bunk is rotted. See that siding, the way it's buckled right there? Well, that means you got to put a new piece on. You can see it's all warped up in the top. It's really bad. We're not going to be able to salvage that. We got to put a new piece on. So we're trying to get all this out of here, but all of this is rotted. When we open this up, I'll show you. But there's a little critter right there. See if I get him on camera. There he is. I think there's quite a few of them in there. So we shall see how many are in there. But I'll bet there's a colony in there. Colony. That's what we're doing now. All these screws are all rusted. All the ones we pulled out. The shanks of them were even that bad. I had a couple up here. There's a couple of them there, but you can see they're just, these are all rusted out, obviously. So take that out, take the window out, take all this off, and then when you get the scaffold together, then I'll go up and show you the roof. But it's your typical RV roof, put more on, that type thing. And one of the things I wanted to show you, because I was taking this off, is that die-core stuff, whatever they're using. I'm going to say it's die-core, but I don't know for a fact it came out of a die-core tube. The self-leveling that they use. It doesn't really stick. And I'll show you that when I get up there. Alright, so this is what we got. More on. Look at that crack right there. That doesn't look good. And also, if you have one of these way up inside there, you got to make sure that's sealed. There's a screw here. There's a screw on that one. And then there's a third leg. So water will get in here and it'll trickle down on that screw. Almost nobody ever seals those up. You know, like right in here. That's what I'm talking about in there. So you see all this stuff cracks. This is their cash cow. This self-leveling is their cash cow. So they just want you to keep buying it and buying it. And you can see someone's already, see the color, the discoloration? Somebody's already tried to slather this stuff on. It just doesn't work. That's not the way a flat roof functions. So, you know, don't put that stuff on there. They exploit people's ignorance to roof systems. And you don't know any better. Most people don't. They go, hey, that's a manufacturer. They did it. They should know what we got to put on there. They do it on purpose, so it fails. It's just, you know. But this is what I was talking about earlier. You can see all this stuff. It just peeled right up off of this.
Yeah, I peeled it
right here.
So.
Yeah. So it doesn't really stick that well. I mean, it's stuck to itself, but it's not like this is all smooth right in here. It doesn't stick. Get water traveling in there, rot out. So we're going to be taking that antenna off, but a lot of the problems on that antenna, well, that one's a little different than the other. They've got a little puck on the other side that goes down, but we're going to omit that anyways. They don't want it on here. So, but that's the problems with these roofs. They're all the same. They just get them built, get them out, get them sold. So we don't have the scaffold quite set up over there, and we still got our guardrail up, so we'll get the rest of it. But you can see basically what we got here. It's the same thing as all the other ones I've done. Nothing fancy, nothing new, nothing better, that's for sure. So obviously we'll get all that. And then I don't think she had gutter spouts on here. We're going to put gutter spouts on there. And then I don't know if I can get a gutter on the back. I'd like to put one on here and it prevents it rolling down, but these lights may be in my way. I'm not sure. I'll check, because these here are about 1.25 inches. And I'll measure it to make sure, but I only need a little bit more, about 1.5 inches. But then I got to make sure I have enough room to get some caulking on there too. So, all right, well, let us rip some stuff apart. I'll show you some more. Well, this is what we got. That is, that is really like dark, moldy. It's all wet in there, so we're gonna have to open it up. Even this is still wet. And we've had this in storage for, I don't know, probably a few months anyways. We had it in storage, so at least that. So that's why I say that if you have water in your coach, it's never going to dry out, not unless you open it up and get a blower on there. So anyhow, we're going to get all this. I made new radius right here. That's what we're working on right now. That's this curved part right here. So we'll get that. Now obviously we build a new platform and put a new piece on the top up there as well. So we'll get our part. All right, so now, like I said, all this was all wet, and then all these are just sticks. See, they just put these in. They just put a staple in them, and what happens is these things kind of move around a lot. They, you know, when you get that headwind, and then when they start loosening up, then the caulking loosens up, And then when the caulking loosens up, then the water gets in there. So they want to try to make these things as light as possible, but you only can get away with being so light before you lose the strength. I mean, with weight comes strength. So, when it's too thin, but that's all they got, these little sticks, see? And then like that one's already coming off over there. So that's how they build them. And they're all stapled together, no glue, nothing. So there's nothing there to even kind of counteract some of the headwind and kind of keep it under control. So obviously we'll be replacing this whole deck right here, this platform. And then like I said, we'll be replacing this one up here. And again, I got this radius going on. So but we're gonna have to fillet this off and get all this opened up, probably get the awning off and everything else. Obviously we got a little bit of work to do, but I did want to show you the way they put these together. But people feel real confident, hey, this is a good coach. They're all the same. They're all the same. So, and I hate to say that, but they are. They're all the same. They just slap them together. Get them built, get them out, get them sold. Here's all our ants. Got a few more up in there. Take a look at them though. Take a real good look. Those are union carpenter ants. Union, I say, because you can see they're all congregated doing nothing and they have no tools. Those are union right there for sure. Oh, this is our new platform right here. That'll go right up under on top of the cab. There's the old one right there. So took this one, obviously took it out. That's all rotted. I mean, it's rotted all around the side, everything. I already showed you all that though. So the difference now is we put more support in it, but also these are pocket holes. That's what they are. There's screws down inside here. So you screw these all together. It's really a strong joint. And then I also stapled them, but you can see that we also glued them. So that's about as tight as you're going to get it. So now I got to clad it, and then we fill it with foam all in there. And that'll keep the weight down on it, but it'll still add some strength. And I'm going to put another piece of plywood on the top, a piece of Luan. That's how it's comprised. So you have a piece of Luan on the top here, and then you'll have the foam in the middle. And then you'll have on the other side here, we'll have another piece of Luan. And then there's Phylon that goes on the underside for above the cap. And we'll probably put a piece of roofing on the top to dress it out. Instead of leaving it just Luan, we'll probably put an old scrap of roofing on there or something. And that's about it. So let us get to work, get this thing all completed. But when we put the foam in there, we're gonna glue it all. Everything's all gonna be glued together. So you'll see. All right, so now we've got all this foam fitted in there, and that's an adhesive we got in there. So if you look at the first clip, you notice I put 2 screws in every one of those. So this is nice and strong now. So now we're going to laminate the other sheet on top of it. This is the top piece. This is the top piece that goes straight across. So you have that, and then you have the platform underneath, and then that new radius, that's what I built too. But what I wanted to show you is the way they build all these. See, things are already coming apart. They don't glue anything together, and all this is just snot welded. I call them snot welds because they're not really welded. Little tiny spot right there. And when they start to get that headwind and rack back and forth, they start to break apart. But this should have been glued, and they would have added a lot more strength. But you can see it's like literally coming apart already on this. So now we got ours framed up over there, and now we're gonna, when we put the foam in, I'm gonna do the same thing like I did on the platform. The foam, we'll put this piece on, we'll put the foam in there, and then we glue it all together. Everything be all glued together. Alrighty, so there's our front end. We already got the platform built. It's up underneath there, and that's the front radius that I built. And then we got that flat part right there to continue up. And we also made new, see if I get the camera up in there. Those are radii that go around, okay? When you have more than one radius, they call them radii, I guess. I've been schooled. But what I did on top of that is I put some metal on top of it to add some strength to it. And the metal is kind of corrugated, so it'll add some strength on the sides as well. Then we glued them all in place. So now it's nice and strong. So now we're gonna go up and take a look at the roof. You go up here. Then you come over here and you trip. I'm an important guy. I can't afford to get my leg busted up over here. Yeah. That'll go in your file. Making a mess. Alright, this is what we got right here. This is what you call a fleece back. So we got to reskin it. But anything that's delammed, like that's just a little bit of delam, I'm not going to rip the whole sheet up for that. I'm just going to peel that skin off. I just want to make sure it gets glued down. So as long as I don't have any major rot in here, and what I do have, I'll replace. Got a little bit right here. We'll fix that. you at least take up that loose stuff right there. And then hey, we got boards going across here too. Cool. See, there's what I'm talking about. Makes it easier to walk around and work on these, that's for sure, when you have scaffold. So got a little, this is where the antenna was. You can see some moisture got up underneath that. That was a plumbing right there. We had some more, there's another plumbing. You can see some of the discoloration. You can see the holes there look a little darker, rusty right there. And that means that moisture was getting in there. So the good part is we got it before it really created a problem. And this is a really thin roof right here. It's not that thick. This is called ply foam. So up inside here is all foam. If you were to drill through here, we're going to go right into foam. That's all we're going to do. But they got the aluminum frame going around everything. So we're going to reskin this, and we'll glue down new decking as soon as we, figure out our little repairs and everything we need. We'll scrape up whatever's flaking. That's all we really need to do. And then we'll skin over it, and we'll start getting a roof on this thing. Well, we got the front siding on. We got that all completed. Just got to trim it up on the side, get our lights on, and then we clean the floor. Look at there. We also get one side of the roof already rolled out. It's already been redecked. So we glued it all down. There's all new decking. We went a little bit heavier. You can see the old decking up underneath there. Actually, you can see all the glue we used too. We glued that down. That's what some of that is. So we didn't need strips on here because it's really smooth. So now, and we also put the edge banding on here, and that's going to make sure that it stays not chafed from the siding and the roof deck. That's the purpose of this. So we're going to now roll the roof out. And once we get that rolled out, we can start putting in, our vents and start putting our curves down. And now we're just rolling it out, the big roller, get her nice and flat and tight. Get her down there. You really want to roll this out. They don't do this at the manufacturing place because you can't roll out the EPDM rubber because it'll wad up. It's kind of like when you roll something across carpet, how the carpet gets wadded up in front. Same principle, because that's the way rubber is. So, with this here, the TPO, much better. Oh, here's our Coachman Freelander. So we got a new decal, put that on there. And you see we got the whole thing cleaned up, put a whole new front end on it, new lights, everything. So we are good on here. We'll go up and show you the roof system. And this is what we got. We are done. This is a real commercial roof. It's a 60 mil commercial grade TPO. TPO stands for thermoplastic. So this all heat welds together. You don't have all that caulking on here. It's all heat welded. Everything's all heat welded together. We heat welded the plumbing boots in here. So the plumbing boots, if they did pop off, it's just going to go down into your holding tank. This is all sealed. So these lenses, they tend to get condensation on the top or dew in the morning. When they get dew on there in the morning and the sun comes up, the sun will evaporate it. But on the inside of this lens, it cannot get evaporated. So what happens is the water does condensate and it'll trickle down. And then the framing will absorb some of that moisture. And then what happens is when the framing does, it'll jewel down. It may get into the ceiling panel or we'll say the roof deck, the ceiling panel, and so forth. And this is over time. This isn't something that's going to happen like in one rain or something like that, or one, shouldn't say a rain, but in one cold morning, if you will, right? So that being said, that moisture just gets in there. There's an inner lens in here. So what these are, this is a vent right here. And we got a trough going in here, and there's a trough going over there. That's a solar fan. So when the sun comes up to evaporate what's on here, then again, that water that's in there, that moisture that wants to condensate on the inside now, we want to get rid of that moisture so that solar fan will kick on. So the solar fan gets this draw from here, the air goes through this ductwork we have inside here, it goes up over the inner lens, comes back down, it gets exhausted out. So that being said, if this pops off, grab a plumbing cap, grab a plumbing cap and put it on here, because it will leak in there, okay? So you need to make sure that that is, these are just spring loaded, so all you have to do is pop them right on. If you don't have that, put some tape on it, put something on it, but it will leak in there. Otherwise, I mean, it's a great system. There's no other way that I could figure to prevent these from popping off. So, but if they do, and you can see them, I mean, especially when you're walking across here, you can see it, and if you notice it, just put it on there. So other than that, like you said, everything's all heat welded. We have this is a flashing, what's called flashing. This is counter flashing. All my curbs that I make, they all have that. Even the little curb that I made for this, all this is all custom made. I made all these pieces. So the RV industry doesn't want to take the time to put the roof on properly, and that's why they all fail. They just want to take everything and cut a hole and screw it to the roof, and then slobber it without self-leveling, and then tell you to, you know, go back and put some more on. That's ridiculous. You don't do that on a commercial application. So getting back to what the roof is, it's a 60 mil commercial grade TPO. And what TPO is thermoplastic. So that means it can weld together. You take a hot air gun and all of this just literally fuses together like you would weld two pieces of metal. The difference between it is, obviously when you weld metal, you usually have a medium, like either a rod or if you have wire or something. On this, it doesn't. When you heat it up, it literally just is like plastic and it fuses together. So it's a very expensive heat gun, and it also puts out an incredible amount of heat. So I wouldn't recommend any of the ladies to use it as a blow dryer. It may fray some ends for sure. So this is also what's called a structured or reinforced membrane, and what that is, you can see on here, you see those little squares in there, that is a mesh that's built into it, and it helps resist against tree branches and hail and things like that. This is the same exact product you're going to find on a commercial building. You're going to find it on a library. You're going to find it on a restaurant, you know, an office building, that type of thing. So same exact membrane. That's, I go to the supply house, and that's where I get all the materials there. So we put a marker over there for the antenna. That's where the old antenna was. They didn't need an antenna, didn't want an antenna. So we just put a marker there just down the road. If they decide to, at least we know where it is, and we don't have to start digging for it. And then the maintenance on this thing is really easy. All you have to do is just wash it down. You can bring it to a truck wash and tell them to get up here and wash it all down. Just, you know, pressure wash it if you want. You can come up here yourself and you can put some simple green, something like that. I don't know if I'd use an orange type. It may tint it. Some of these cleaners have these dyes in them that will probably tint something, so I'd use probably like a simple green, something simple. You can just use dish soap. That would probably work. Scrub it, hose it off, and it'll stay clean. So on the air conditioner, the way they usually do the air conditioners, as you've probably seen in the beginning, the air conditioner is just pushed down. There's a foam gasket up underneath there. And then eventually what happens is that foam gasket, it dries out, and then when it dries out and starts leaking, and a lot of that dry out comes from dirt and pollen and debris that get collected up underneath the air conditioner up against the gasket. So obviously now that it's elevated up off the roof line, what I don't want to have happen is when the rain comes down and the wind is blowing, especially even if you're traveling, I don't want it to trickle back into that foam gasket. So this piece right here, that's another piece of counterflash that goes up underneath the cover. So that prevents that from happening. It just gives it another direction. It gives it another direction. We got some stands in the back over here, and that just gives the air conditioner some balance. So everything is all set on there. We've got the insert trim. We got 2 strikes of caulking that go across the top. We put the first one on. We use an adhesive sealant for the gutters. We don't use butyl. And then that seals everything. And all the screws, here, I'll pop this out. All the screws that are up underneath here, they're all sealed. All the screws have a what I call a grommet around them. Let's see if I can pop that out there. See how we got a grommet around all the little screws? So we want to make sure you got that all sealed as well. It's all the way, you know, all of them are like that, every one of them. So, and this has a groove in it. See this groove right in here? That groove sits up inside this track right here. This little tiny track sits in that groove. So this piece of gasket is up underneath, and it's on both sides. So I feel more confident. It locks more water out for sure than the other ones that just kind of slip in. And then it's pretty easy to set right back in. But this is a much better product. We don't sell anything at all We don't sell one thing. We don't sell any of this. We don't sell any curves. We don't sell anything. It's not a DIY channel. I appreciate people watching and they get some ideas. Great, but there's a lot of stuff we do behind the scenes that we can't record all of it. The videos would be too long. So, but anyhow, I just want to make sure that everybody knows. I mean, as much as we like to try to help them out, sometimes it's just impossible to get answering questions. The other thing we did is I put a gutter on the back, and that's to get all the water off. I don't want it running down the side, so I try to do that as much as I can on a lot of the coaches, unless something's going to interfere with me doing that, like these lights. So we were able to just clear these lights. I mean, we just cleared them. This is actually sitting on top of the light, and we sealed all the lights in here. So, and then we put new spouts on here. We want to get the water away from the coach. So and that's about it. So on the ladder, we've got, you know, the boots over there. Oh, aim this way. It looks like I'm pointing this way to it, but in the camera, I got to come over here. But those two boots that you see right there for the ladder where it comes down, those have a special sealer in them. So when you climb those ladders, they're always wibbling wobbling around, and when they wibble wobble around, then you tend to get leaks on the typical way they install them. But with those boots on there, with that sealant around there, it's not going to happen. It's done. So we made sure all the screws are all tight in the ladder. And then one of the other things I didn't like, when you look at the bottom of the ladder, let me zoom up a little bit, you can see how it returns back into the wall. So when you start climbing up the ladder, you put a lot of stress on these supports right here, because those are just sticking out. So when you climb them, they just tend to keep doing this. So what we did is we added a piece from the ladder down to the bumper. So now all the weight from climbing on it is actually pushing right down onto the bumper. We've added those on there for her. So other than that, ready to go. The warranty is real simple. This is a 20-year roof system, and the material is warranted. And that's the way it works on any material you buy. Not just this, any material. Even the crappy dyed core, all of it's going to say the same. It's a 20-year material warranty. They don't know who's installing it. They don't know how well they install it. So what that means is that the material itself will not fail for 20 years, or shall I say, it will fail at a prorated rate for 20 years. Okay, so this being in the sun, others on a commercial level as well, because these are meant to stay out in the sun all day, all the time, all the weather, right? These are usually parked underneath something, you know, maybe in a garage when you go to the campsite. So you're not going to have all that UV light on it, and you're going to get more than 20 years out of it. But for conversation's sake, the warranties, that's how they read, is that it will not fail an unusual chalking, fading, oxidation. So the UV light obviously is going to have some effect. It's going to take some toll on it. And again, that's how it reads. But all that being said, they don't know who's doing the install. So we want the customers to come back. I don't want to just throw it on there and go, hey, thanks, see you, bye, we got your money. Come back in for your inspections. I like to see these come back 30 days after we do them. And then, you know, really at the very least 60. That's for the initial inspection, because we took a lot of time to put it on, and these aren't cheap to put on. There's a lot of work that we do, so I want to make sure we're doing everything right. They rack, they twist, they flex a lot, so I want to make sure we addressed everything. After that, you come back once a year. So I don't want someone to get upset with us and not bring it back, and it was something that, you know, this coach tweaked and racked and twisted, you know, in a certain manner that, you know, we just have to, maybe we do have to add a little reinforcement, or maybe we have to go back and just re-caulk something, you know, at the risk of sounding like putting more on. Sometimes, you know, they'll, like I said, they'll tweak a little bit, and depending on how they flex, every one of these is different. If I get another Freedom just like this, or Freelander just like this, same year, same make, same model, everything, it's going to rack, twist, and move differently than this one. So again, that's the purpose of the initial inspection. After that, it's once a year, and we're going to go around, we're going to check all the welds, we're going to check all the caulking, we're going to check everything that we did to make sure it's all set. And this way, you know, every year, just keep coming in. So once you bring it in 1 year, then you're good for another year, and then you keep bringing it in every year. Okay, if you don't bring it in 1 year, you can fall out of warranty, and then you can bring it back in, and we can look at it, and everything's good. We put you back on warranty. But if there's some, you know, maybe a cracked skylight caused a problem, and we had to go in and do some repairs and some work on it, well, that's not our fault. So, you know, obviously that's something we cannot warranty. We don't warranty the fans. I can't warranty the skylights. There's certain things like that. Obviously, if these crack, these covers or something like that, What we're warrantying is all our boots, our welds, our material. That's what we're warrantying. But you know, we like to check all this to see if the fan is still working and so forth. And you know, these things are maintenance hogs, so you might as well get used to it. If you own one, you might as well get used to it. The other thing I'd recommend is that the customer go over and caulk this whole entire coach. I say that all the time. I want to make sure they're caulked. We caulk everything we interrupt or breach, and then we also try to look for anything that may be obvious, like maybe on the top of this window. I know we did that. We went around the top of this particular window because it's right in our face, so we just put that on there. But still, you probably want to go around and make sure everything is latches and so forth. So I also want to thank the customer for bringing the coach to us. We appreciate the work, and I guess we'll see us all in the next one. Care package. Right. So in our care package we have caulking, we got primer, we have got 2 patches. Those are heat patches. We got a patch peel and stick patch. We got a checker tool. We've got a magnet. And the rest of this is just pens, keychains, brush, nozzle. Okay, so if we have a hole in the roof, and we'll simulate a hole. We can do hole simulations. We say we got a hole there. Here's your tree branch come through, and you're like, oh man, I got a hole in my roof, it's leaking. So what you want to do? And it's raining out. Right now it's raining. You're like, crap, I gotta stop that leak. You want to get in there, and if you can't get that nozzle in there, don't worry about it. Make it a little bigger. What you're trying to do, you need to get up underneath the roofing, like this. This is what we need to do, get up underneath the roofing. Then you're going to take and you're going to put this up inside there, and you're going to squeeze, 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 squeeze. Hopefully this thing is plugged up. There it goes. Just squeeze, squeeze. You're going to try and get up underneath this part too. Squeeze up underneath there. Get some more underneath there. Well, we are getting this thing all boogered up. Then what we're going to do, you're going to push it together. See how it oozes out? That's sealed. You're done. This is a moisture cured product. So what? It's a hot mess. Looks terrible. Who cares? Keep the water out. So now, the next day, we're going to go up there, and that's going to be cured looking like that. So we're going to take a knife, and you just shave it down. Just shave it down with a knife. I'm just going to obviously wipe this off. Now you say, hey, I want something a little better than that. So what we're going to do is get some cleaner. This is a terrible rag. You got another one. You got one on you? Oh, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag. Hey, what are you doing? What are you going to talk about, man? Nope, just leave it alone. Oh, leave it alone right now. We're recording now? Are we on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Alright, so now we cleaned it off with a knife. I just washed that off because it's still wet. Take that off. So now we got a patch. This is a peel and stick patch. We're going to take that, we're going to center it over there. Just take a pen and go around like this. I like to kind of put a dash like that so I know who's where, what, and where, and how. So now there's what I got. So in the package we got primer. We also have a brush. You're going to take that, you're going to go all inside the square. You're also going to go outside this square about 3/8 of an inch. Outside about 3/8 of an inch or so. Once you get that, there's a film on the back. You peel the film, now you know which side you are, see, because there's your marks. And you peel that film back. Get the fat fingers in there to get the film off of this thing. This is just a regular roof tape. That's all it is. We put them in all the care packages. Get that daggone thing off of there. Probably use some fingernails. Probably help. Come on. There it is. Okay. There it is. Now you got the film. You take that film. So now we're going to line it back up with this. We already got the primer under there. you just peel the film back, and as you do, you just rub it down like this. Sometimes that film will get a little stuck in there. This is just a butyl. You just kind of try to keep it as even as you can and flat as you can. Boom, you're done. There it is. So now, out here, this is where your primer is. You put the primer on there. You got primer there, and now you're going to put primer here. You want to prime all this area with your brush. Prime all that. Then you're going to come back. Once you get it all primed, then you're going to put a little bit of caulking on it, just like this. That's simple. If it doesn't all sit in there, you can always take your finger and go around it if you want. We're trying to obviously stop a leak and make one of. There's going to be a little more permanent of a patch than just that plug that we did when it was raining. So now that we get that all done, the whole purpose of it is this part here. This part underneath here, that's a butyl. When the sun hits that, if you didn't have the caulking on there, it will cause it to release and curl up just like I'm doing here. And it'll start coming loose. That's why you need the primer. That's why when you prime it, you're going to prime on top of this, because nothing will stick to it. Nothing, the caulking will not stick to this patch, and it won't stick to the roof unless you use the primer. That's how you do a patch. Ta-da! All done.